Lakers, Celtics, Bulls, Pistons, Knicks, Pacers. These are some of the most iconic rivalries in NBA history. Largely, though, these feuds have become somewhat of a relic of the past. The most recent one on that list of prominent examples was back when Reggie Miller was on the Pacers. Recently, there has been a drought of high stakes, major rivalries, but a new one is emerging in the West. This one is between the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Denver Nuggets. And today we are going to be breaking down the best rivalry in the modern NBA.
Immediately looked down at his hand.
End of the first half. Nikola Jokic, nothing.
Starting us off here, hardcore fans are going to be invested in the game no matter what because they love basketball. But what rivalries do, what quarrels do, they allow for the casual fan to connect more deeply because they can see the passion of the athletes and feel as though there is something major on the line beyond just winning a game. Think of the way that the original Lakers-Celtics rivalry, and that especially is true between Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, and how that brought the NBA to so many new eyes. These feuds are a great way to draw in the attention of not just a hardcore fan, but a casual audience as well, someone on the outside looking in. And something else that the casual audience might often find themselves cheering for are the stars of the NBA. Because for the hardcore fans, you might have your advanced analytics, you might have the stat heads, and the people who are there to watch all 82 games of their favorite team, or others as well on League Pass. But for those who aren't as invested, they might catch a couple of national TV games, they might watch the All-Star game, and with that, they see the best of the best consistently. So what can really ignite a rivalry is when there are opposing stars on the two sides. And that's precisely what we have. For the Minnesota Timberwolves, you have Anthony Edwards, one of the most exciting players in the entire league. Someone who is not just skilled offensively, but adept defensively as well. And as great as he is on the court, he is an even bigger personality outside of it.
The pandemic was nothing to me. I was already living in a pandemic because all I wanted to do was get better.
Oh, eat right now. I'm good.
I better stand down. I'm the truth.
He my tall son though. Like I got two 7-foot sons, Cat and Gobert.
On the other side for Denver, you have Nikola Jokic, who might be a little bit more monotone off the court, but he is a 3-time NBA MVP and could well be on his way to winning his 4th. And for all the talk of generational talents, Jokic certainly fits that bill. Not only has he racked up so many accolades at this point in his career already, he is perhaps the best passing big man that we've ever seen in the history of the association.
Look at Lopez. He doesn't even know where the ball's going.
Having these superstars on opposing ends really elevates the rivalry to a whole different level. You think about the famous ones in the past. You had Bird and Magic for the Lakers Celtics. You had Michael Jordan going up against Isaiah Thomas. And you had Reggie Miller's Pacers going up against the Knicks. The hardcore fans are going to love seeing all the individual players going at it. Say Jaden McDaniels or Jamal Murray. But because of the talent of the two leading men, there's also an appreciation from the hardcore audience of the major stars, so they can appreciate it. And then for the casual audience, having two players of this caliber, being the heads of these franchises, cornerstones of their franchises, going up against one another, that only elevates the rivalry to an even greater extent. So having these stars really adds to it. In the value of Anthony Edwards and Nikola Jokic in elevating this feud to an entirely different level cannot be understated.
Now with the game, a one-possession game, you're going to have to...
Secondly, stars are great. Uber talented players are great. But the best of the best, they thrive on competition. And there is no greater competition than the NBA postseason. The Timberwolves have been there annually for a few years now, but there was a time where they had gone almost a couple decades making only one playoff appearance. And so when they had won just one play-in game to even make the postseason, that was a cause for major celebration, which is a great showing of just how much playoffs can mean.
To go into the playoffs. Against the winner.
And when we talk about the playoffs with these teams now, it's not only a matter of them being postseason caliber teams and fighting for seeding in the regular season, but rather they are meeting up year after year in the playoffs. A couple years ago, when the Denver Nuggets became NBA champions, they had a pretty dominant playoff run. But early on into the postseason, they had to face Minnesota. And multiple players came out and said that that was their toughest series.
Ant was going OD, though. Ant is next up.
Then last season, these two teams were both top 3 seeds in their conference, and they would meet in the playoffs, where they would have a stellar series that would go all the way to Game 7. And it was one that captivated both fans and media members alike and got everybody talking. Not only did it go to Game 7, but that Game 7 featured a stellar comeback from Minnesota. And every rivalry has some moments that are associated with it. Like Reggie Miller going on an insane scoring run. And comebacks like that make those memorable moments. Especially on the biggest stage of them all, like the playoffs. And with the way that Nikola Jokic is still playing at the age of 30, perhaps on his way to winning a 4th MVP, at bare minimum being in the top 2, and Anthony Edwards still so young into his career, already being a 27-point per game scorer, there could be plenty more series between these two in the future, and that can only build the legacy of this rivalry even further. Because the regular season is one thing. The regular season is great. But when it comes postseason time, the stakes are even higher. You win or you're out. In these moments, they elevate the rivalry to an even greater level. Because all the eyes are on you to advance. And if you don't, everything you did in the regular season, that's all for nothing. But if you do advance, you have a chance to win the biggest prize of them all. And that only stokes the flame between these two teams.
And you see, Gobert throws him away.
Next up, between these stars on opposing ends, as well as the postseason series that they've already had, what all that fosters is a level of competitiveness, of drive, desire, and intensity. What a rivalry creates is not just a desire to win, but a desire to beat the other team. Because winning a game is one thing. All you've got to do is score more points than the other team. But beating a team is the manner in which you do it and the mindset that you put forth. Because when you play this team year after year as rivals, whether you're meeting in the playoffs or even in the regular season, and you've had so many battles with them, say it's the best of 7 series you had last postseason, right? That gave you plenty of time to adapt and develop schemes, and you kind of know the other team's game plan and how to counter it. That's what the coaches do. And then for the players, they kind of have a mind for the opposing players' tendencies and develop a sense of how to defend them. Because they don't want to just win a game. When you have a rival and you're meeting this person, this team in the postseason consistently, you're always having feuds and so many games shared between you. It is not enough to just win, but instead you want to beat them and make a statement. That is what beating them does. This past game that they had on April 1st, it went to overtime. And not only did it go to overtime, but Minnesota won under amazing, shocking circumstances. Russell Westbrook smoked a layup, and even with that, Denver had a 1-point lead. Nickeil Alexander-Walker takes a 3 with no time left on the clock to try to win the game at the last possible second at the buzzer. And then he gets fouled. He hits some free throws, and then now Minnesota wins the game. And that right there is a statement that this team is one that is not going to back down, that they're a pack of wolves in a sense, and they're hungry to win, and they'll do whatever it takes to do so. A great rivalry fosters intensity, and that is exactly what is on display between Denver and Minnesota every time they play, and it's electrifying.
Minnesota Timberwolves are for real. They're going to sweep the Denver Nuggets, period.
Lastly, what is all of this for? Why does it matter? What are the implications of a rivalry like this? Why is it worth bringing up? And that is because a rivalry of this magnitude, with the stars on both ends, with the postseason meetings, and the intensity that comes with it, that's when the NBA is at its best. Because the National Basketball Association is a sports league. And sports are far more captivating when there is a certain competitiveness to it. Take a look at the most recent NBA All-Star games. There's been a lot of criticism centered around those because some fans and some media members, they don't feel like the players care all that much. And as a result, it kind of hurts the viewing product. But when you've got something like this, when you have a rivalry of this magnitude, it reignites that spark in both the individual players as well as the teams as a whole. And they have a desire to beat the other team and prove themselves to be the best in the world. And that's when the league is at its best, when there's a desire among all involved. And for the fans, it creates unforgettable moments, memories that will never be forgotten. And for the players, everyone in the league, they love basketball, right? They've worked their whole lives to get here. But then you do, and sometimes it can be monotonous. Sometimes it can be demoralizing if you have a tough loss. But what a rivalry creates is it reignites that spark in the players once again to be the best that they can be and do everything that they can to win. So for all involved, a rivalry is great. And you get to the media as well, it gives them something to talk about. And when it comes to a rivalry right now, through intensity, through postseason meetings, and through the stars on both sides, there's none better in the National Basketball Association than that between the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Denver Nuggets. What a time it is to be a basketball fan.